Welcome to the What's Your Superpower Weekend Author Showcase. Today we are hearing from some amazing authors that gathered here with us. So without further ado, we're going to get started. So first up, we have Mr. Jamar Abair. Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to be very short and brief. So I'm a two-time author. The very first book that I wrote is Dream It, Plan It, Do It. It's a personal GPS for everyday people in pursuit of extraordinary dreams. And it's basically a book about accomplishing your goals in life. The book states, stop living a life of regret, start living your true purpose. And it basically says that it's never too late to live out the life you were meant to live. Sometimes the ins and outs of the day-to-day life wears on us, making us believe that it's too late to realize our dreams, and somehow they're out of reach. But all too often we overcomplicate the process of finding that true purpose. So that's the purpose of this book. It's to simplify that process, break it down. It also highlights several individuals that took unique approaches to accomplishing their dreams. Some of them thought it was too late, but they all made it through. So that's this book. This book was published back in 2017. My latest book I actually wrote during the pandemic, and it's entitled The Only Black Man in the Room. And I would say this is probably the book that probably catches most individuals' attention because they're like, I've been in that place before. And, stating the only black man in the room is just a title. It could be the only black female, the only whatever, the only other in the room. But it also highlights individuals that have gone on to be successful that were the only person of their kind in the room. But it also states, what does it take to navigate the modern day world of the American workplace as a black man? So my hope is that readers will walk away being able to navigate the minefield of race in the workplace. They can also gain secrets of high achievers who have successfully risen to the top of their professions without sacrificing who they are and their identities. Also give tips to own the room and approach your challenges with confidence. And then finally, strategies to continue learning, developing, and building workplaces for diverse teams. Any questions, comments, concerns? Nadia. How do you purchase my book? Very good question. So my book is actually available anywhere that books are able to be purchased. For example, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com, Walmart.com. Also, you can purchase it on my website, jamarabear.com. Any other questions from my fellow? What else am I planning to do? I've been thinking lately about writing a book on mental health, but basically writing it from a black man's perspective. I feel like, a lot of times in the black community, we are afraid to talk about mental health, or it's one of those things you kind of keep to yourself. But as a black man, I know that it's important to address that topic. And I feel that we all struggle with mental health in some capacity. There's just different levels to it. But if, you say that you don't have a mental health or you've never dealt with something from a mental perspective, I think we're cheating ourselves by saying. So really want to tackle that stigma.
So yesterday, Dr. Benson mentioned about the number of men that do not read anymore. So, what can you do since you do have a book that is kind of geared towards men? But I know you talk and you say you want to do more. It's about anyone that feel like they're alone, whether not they're a woman or man, whether they're Latino. What can you do to promote your book more to get in the hands of men so they can begin to read and have the encouragement they need?
That's a really, really good question. I haven't really thought about that a whole lot, but I would say, getting involved in the community. There are so many organizations out there that are awesome at what they do. For example, the 100 Black Men, the NAACP, a lot of these other organizations. But I would say that you don't really hear them talking a lot about reading and literacy and the opportunities that we have. So I think advocating more for reading and talking about the importance of it. Yeah. That sounds like a challenge.
I have more to say.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Neely, and I am a 3-time bestseller author on Amazon. And I have had the pleasure of doing 2 anthologies with Nadia. We love Nadia back in Texas, y'all. We drove here from Texas. We love her. I thank God for her. But my name is Teresa Neely, and I stand before you what many have called a miracle. And with that being said, all of us have a testimony and all of us have a story. So I think the difference between me and others is I stand with the testimony and I understand what it means to not just be healed, but to be made whole. And I think when I speak from wholeness, and I think that that is the difference. I have the pleasure of talking to many from children. I'm a mentor for children. So from children to other women, and I have found it to be that it is the wholeness that is missing from the testimony. I think that's why people view me as they do. But today, my featured book, this is book number 3. Or was the prayer book first? Which one was first? This one. Okay, book number 3. And this is my personal story of how I was able, by the grace of God, to press past all the pain. So I am a little girl who truly knows, and I said a little girl. I did with my 55-year-old self stand up here. I said a little girl, because I'm a little girl who truly knows who her father is. And when I say my father, I'm talking about Yeshua, Jesus, who is the author and finisher of our faith. He is all of our Father, but he has been to me what no one else has. I didn't have the pleasure of growing up with that home with a mother, father, going to school, all the what we will call a normal life. That was not my story. So I thank God for memory. I can remember my story as far back at the age of 3. Now, I don't know what happened before 3, but I can tell you from 3 to today. And so I always say that the Lord saved me before he saved me, because with all of the pain and all of the trauma that I have been through, it did not break me. And I know that that's nobody but God. So in the contents of this book, you will just hear a short story of how I grew up. Though I had parents, I didn't have parents. My father suffered from whatever trauma he suffered from, and I guess he didn't know how to be a father, but to God be the glory. Before he left this world, my husband and I led him in the sinner's prayer, so I know that he received Jesus. The reason why you hear me say my superpower is love, if you read the book, you'll understand it. There's not very many people. I was molested by my father from the age of 3 to the age of 12. And yet, when my father fell ill, who do you think took care of him? And took care of him with excellency. It was so excellent with the love of my father, the love of God, that he would tell my husband, I'm scared of her. My husband said, what you scared of? That guilt, you know what I'm saying? When he's laying there, can't do anything, and you depended totally upon somebody, things tend to come back. But he saw the love of the Father through me. I am 55. As I said, my mother is still alive, and the Lord found me at the age of 16. I've been serving him since the age of 16. My mother is still alive. She does not know the Lord as I do. And so I honor her with the love of God, but she doesn't know him like that. So our relationship is a strain. But the blessed thing about it is I'm the oldest of 13 children, and all of us, we made it. All of us are successful. All of us are entrepreneurs. All of us, we made it by the grace of God. I'm a foster mom, the mother of 130 children. I have been in the state foster care system for the last 27 years come March. And I have taken care of everything from infants, and now I take care of children with trauma, the teenagers. So I respect my brothers talking about the mental health because that's what I do every day. So I'm determined every day to use my voice. And you know how we have those little cliches, and I don't know about y'all, but in Texas we tend to say, "Shut your mouth." I have to make myself not say that because I want to say, "You better speak," because when you speak, there is deliverance and freedom in your speech. And our stories are not just for ourselves, but there's somebody out there that need our story. So we need to share. And that's who I am, Teresa Neely. Let me see what else. Been married 40 years this year. I have 5. How many kids do I have? I don't even know, y'all. I have 5. Well, yeah, I had 130, but 5 biological, 2 adopted, and the rest are all foster children. So, yes, I lose count. I forfeit every Mother's Day. I tell them, don't honor me anymore as the mother with the most children. Let's give that honor to somebody else. So, I am Teresa Neely. Any questions, comments?
I have a question. You
Yes.
mentioned something about being estranged from your mom. I'm the same.
Yes, ma'am.
Being a Christian and showing a love of God and having honor. How does that affect you? Well, how did that help you with your writing skills?
Mm-hmm.
To be able to kind of tell that testimony, but as well as help others?
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, when you know who you are, and when you know whose you are, and when you say yes, and your yes is a complete yes, that's where the wholeness come in. And if you're whole, you can't be broken. And so I live my life, whether it's just people seeing me from afar or whether they're having a conversation with me, where they see me, they see me living from that place of wholeness. And so I believe that we're that beacon of light. So I'll share this real quick. So my birthday this past July, I told my mother has never. But this past July, my sister and them decided to throw me a surprise birthday party. And my mom, oh, I can't do that. I'm trying. Okay, mom, it's all good. I love you. It's cool. Well, it was raining. It was storming. What was the last storm in Houston? I can't remember. It was stuff going everywhere. And they was like, you going? I said, yes, I am, because Jesus got me. I'm going. Went, and guess what? The mother that said, I got plans, I'm going out of town, I'm going to do this, now they told my story changed. My story changed when I started speaking. So on that birthday, 2024, my mom showed up and asked me how many gifts she bought in the house. 55 gifts she brought in the house. And my mother, who is full of pride, I'm telling you, she gonna show up looking, honey, she came in there in a muumuu. And when everybody looked, the friend that walked in her said, I've been knowing your mama 30 years and I didn't know that you were even her daughter. I've never even heard of you. But I tell you one thing, this woman had me out here in this rainy weather storm, and when people were supposed to be at home, out there shopping for you. 55 gifts. And the way she said it was, well, I've never really done anything for her, so this is just me saying happy birthday. That's all she needed to say. But what she was really doing was apologizing, repenting. You got to meet people where they are. And I was able to hug her and say, thank you, Mom. Amen. He'll do it. He's going to do it. He's already done it. Remember that. Amen. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Experience like healing within from writing and you experience another level of healing.
I did, but my greatest healing was knowing that someone was going to hear the story and that it was going to make a difference in their life. That truly was healing to me. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And people say to me, have I ever had, since I take care of children with trauma, they're like, have you ever been to counseling? Have you ever had this? And I'm all for it. I'm absolutely not against it, but we all have a story. I have never been to counseling. I've never. But I just know, and this is not to take anything away from me because I'm all for it, but my story. Jesus said he will be everything to you that you need him to be. So it's not what he doesn't do, it's what we allow him to do. It's just about receiving and being who we already are. We don't have to do anything. Anybody else? All right. I love y'all. Thank you, Miss Nadia. I appreciate you.
Don't skip me now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tondra D. Williams. I'm known as the Destiny Midwife. Um, I want to first say thank you to Nadia for allowing us to have a platform, her platform, to speak on and to just be able to love on one another, knowing that we did something great, right? Because it's not easy writing. Let's see, today I'm presenting a piece of my work. It's a piece of my heart. This is the first book in my Unmuted series. So everybody's talking about using your voice and all that kind of stuff. So this book was born from my own journey of being silenced from fear, trauma, and doubt. And there was a time when I felt like my voice didn't matter, when I thought I had to shrink myself back and to fit into spaces that weren't meant for me. But I've learned that transformation starts with what we speak over ourselves. Now, I am a PK, and I wrote this book to remind every person, I didn't just write it myself, I'm sorry, it's 20 other authors that wrote with me. And we wrote in this book, but I wrote in this book for myself to remind myself these words: death and life are in the power of the tongue. So you have to speak it. That's in Proverbs 18:21. What we declare over ourselves and others has the power to break chains, shift atmospheres, and unlock destinies. That's why my superpower is my voice. And what I always say is my voice is a weapon. My voice that God gave me to use was not to be silenced. It is used to equip and empower and help those who have also become muted. Being unmuted isn't just about speaking louder. It's about living authentically and unapologetic in your purpose. It's about declaring that you are who God says you are, despite what life and circumstances and the enemy tries to tell you. I do what I do because I know who I am. And I know that there is someone waiting for you to step into your calling. Your voice matters, your story matters, and your transformation starts the moment that you give God your full yes. I am no longer silent. And I thank God that I'm no longer silent. There were many of these women here who were silent, but God had me grab them and pull them up and out. And so I am a 10-time author. All my books aren't here. I have more books that are coming, being released this year, including a book that I'm writing with my granddaughter, who's 6 years old. That's very near and dear to my heart. But yeah, this is transformation is in her mouth. This is my baby. But I've had many babies. And I'm a pastor, I'm a mother of 4. I have 3 grandgirls, so 6, 1, and 11 months. Yes. Anybody want to ask me any questions?
I have because I know you share with them the vision that God gave you on the road with people, the really little lives.
So in 2019, God arrested me while I was at work. I was working from home, and I was working in the medical field. So I was working at home. The Lord arrested me while I was literally working, and I couldn't work anymore. So I told my boss, hey, I got to go. I went into my bedroom. Holy Spirit met me there. And I fell on my face, and all I could do was give God a yes. Just yes. Yeah, it was just yes. I didn't care what he wanted. It was just yes, completely. And after praying in the Spirit for about a good 3 hours, I was tired, fell asleep. When I went to sleep, there was a dream that he took me to that I remember vividly, and it's in this book. It's in all my books. There was a party going on. Everybody is dressed in black and white attire, very fancy, ritzy. And so there are these large doors. And I want you to imagine this. Doors as far as your eyes can see. You can't even see the top of the doors. There were big golden doors with locks in the middle. Locks as far as you can lock them. There were 2 women on either side dressed in white. The mothers of the church, the nurses in the church, all white, and had the little doilies on their head, stuff like that. So they looked like twins. They were both on either side. And they were grabbing women, snatching them up, and throwing them into this room and locking the door. Me, with my inquisitive self, I'm saying, what in the world is going on? So I'm looking, but everyone else is having a joyful time, right? Everybody else is just at this party. And so what ends up happening is I get close and they yank me into the room. Well, then I don't want to be in that room. I don't even know what's in there. So I'm trying to open the doors, and I can't get out. So the door is shut. I literally hear it now. They shut and lock. And I turn around, and there are all these women further than my eyes could see. Some had their mouths sewn up. Some had no mouth. Whew. Some of them had no mouth, and some of them were like, it was like chains, and they were, they were looking up to me, tears in their eyes, and I was looking all different nationalities. And I woke up. This was on a big, like, ocean liner boat. I woke up and I was sobbing unconsolably, sobbing, just crying. And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to help them. I need you to unmute them. This is how this first book was born. And God has given me the unique ability to remove the muzzle off of not just women, but men, even children. And when I think about that, I think about how did you first get silenced? And so it's like, what took your voice? There's so many people in this world whose voices are stripping. And we know the saying that the graveyard is the richest place in the world. And I vowed that it wouldn't be on my watch. As long as I have a voice, I'm going to help others. I'm going to help pull them up and out. So, yeah. Anybody have any questions, anything you want to ask? Anybody?
Do you have any testimonies of people that have read the book?
Yes.
How the testimonies, how has impacted you as a mom?
Yes. So there are many testimonies. I did in 2023. I did a tour, and many of the women that read the books said, "This person was me," or "That person was me," and because of you, I'm now going to open my mouth and speak. And so they do keep in touch with me, ask me for coaching, things like that. And a lot of them are speaking all over. Like some of them are preachers, ministers. Some of them didn't. They knew that God called them to minister. But in a day and time where even for myself, me being a PK, when I told my father I was called to preach, he was like, no, God didn't call no women. We know that's not true. Amen. But in that era, in that time, there are some people who still believe that God didn't call women, but we know that's not true. And so some people are silenced because they don't want to hurt whom they love. You know what I mean? And God, if God called you to do it, you have to do it because he's our ultimate father. We do have earthly parents, but we have to honor our Father, which is in heaven. And so there's so many testimonies that come out of that. A person that lost a baby, and there was another person who lost a baby, and her testimony helped her. So it's just, there's a plethora of stories in here that I know will change your life. Anybody else? So God took me to Esther, okay? And Esther's story, if we know it, look, if you don't open your mouth, you finna die. Like, seriously, it is a mandate. So when we're mandated to do something, we cannot tell God no, else you find yourself dead and then in hell because you weren't obedient. And I'm telling you, God took me straight to Esther. Read it. And I was like, and then the fact, this thing right here, that somebody else would take your place and you watch them do what you're supposed to do, how would that feel? That was my job. That's what I was supposed to. Ain't nobody, what? That was your job. While somebody else is being pushed to do everything that you were supposed to do. That is, I don't ever want to see that. I told the Lord, forgive me for being muted, because we'll put other people in front of us. Oh, girl, you do it. Oh, yeah, no, that's for you. Stop doing that. We too old for that. Like, seriously, though, we're too old to keep pushing somebody in our place or pushing somebody in front of us. And if people don't want you to do it, that's their problem, not your problem. Now, I didn't forgive my father till he died. That's the truth. I didn't. I kept saying I forgave him and I did not. But I forgave him. God told me, hey, you need to go through this journey of forgiveness, and I have. And I forgave every person who tried to mute me. But can't nobody do it again. So you can follow me on social media. I'm at Tondra D. Williams on Facebook. I'm at the Destiny Midwife on Instagram. Also, destinyspeaks.org. That's my website. It's down today, but it'll be up tomorrow. You'll find everything on there. Okay? Thank you all.
Somebody say, don't be the number two when God made you the number one. Oh, y'all didn't get it in your spirit. She just said it. Don't be number two when God made you number one. All right. Special thanks and heartfelt gratitude to Nadia Francis for allowing this platform, this opportunity for us authors, us creatives to share in what God has created in us, and giving us the opportunity to share with all of her outlets, many outlets that she has across the diaspora. So my name is Lloyd Benson Jr. I have to be, I've learned with us, you got to be Pacific and not Atlantic. Some of y'all gonna catch that tomorrow. When dealing with us, you got to be Pacific and not Atlantic. So I'm Lloyd Benson Jr. because there's a Lloyd Benson Sr. So make sure you get the Junior with me. LloydBensonJr.org is where you can find me. Lloyd H. Benson II on Facebook and social media. I am the author of I'm Not Perfect, I'm Purposed. And it's essentially a belief that I have, that I've found, that if nobody else accepts you, you have to learn to accept yourself, right? If nobody in this world gives you the green light, you got to green light yourself. Because if you let people decide who you are and what you will become, you will forever be stagnated, and it'll lead you to a place of complacency. And so I'm not perfect, I'm purposed, is me discovering that, accepting myself, accepting my flaws, accepting my imperfections, and understanding that through it all, God still has an ultimate plan and purpose for my life to be fulfilled, that many around this world, in this country, need to hear the message that God has placed on the inside of you. And so it's a journey of scriptures that have helped me to evolve, get back my confidence, and just get back in position. My godmother is here, so I'm going to use an abbreviation, remembering who the heck I am, right? Because she'll tell my mom, and my mom will still be trying to whoop me at 42 years old for using profanity up in here. But just remembering who I am, and just being strengthened by the call of God on my life, and to be a motivation and inspiration to everyone, but specifically brothers, males that look like myself. And so there's been so many guys that have lost their way, that are seeking purpose in their life, that are trying to discover who they are. And so this has helped me, and I know is going to help someone else. Outside of my book, and it's a very easy read. I want to emphasize that on yesterday, I shared one of the crises that we experienced in 2024 is that men have stopped reading. Reading is a form of therapy. Reading is a form of mental health. Reading is a form of strengthening yourself. But unfortunately, and especially in the African American community, Black men have stopped reading altogether. So that means that it's stopping our ability to be creative. It's stopping our ability to critically think. It's stopping our ability to just have basic literary skills in which we need to be successful in corporate America. And so it's 26 chapters, but they're very, very short chapters, straight to the point, concise. This brother here, he bought my book and he hit me back, but a day later, 48 hours later, and said, I'm done reading it, and it helped me, right? And so and that encouraged me because I didn't want to give you a huge book that you were just going to make a coaster in your house. I wanted you to read it, keep it in your car while you at the bank making a deposit. Say, let me get the book out and read me a quick chapter right quick, right? And so that's called thrift reading, where you just keep a book around where whatever you're doing, at the laundromat, waiting on the kids in carpool line, you can get a quick read in and say, I finished a chapter today, and it's going to be something to help you, all right? And then also my brand is mental hygiene is top tier. Now, I may get in trouble for doing this, but I'm going to ask anyway, if anybody would be willing to share how long did it take you to get ready for today? An event like this, I know you had makeup and everything. So who would be willing to share how long it took them to get ready? An hour and a half. Thank you. And she was honest about it, because I know some of y'all women was going to try to say it didn't take you that long. But I know it took you an hour and a half. She said an hour and a half to get ready physically. Now, I know for her, the answer may be different, but for the mass majority of us, you take an hour and a half to get ready physically, but how much time did you invest in your mental? The average American, in the course of a year, only reads one book. The average. That means the other half not reading any at all. The average don't do anything to enhance their mental capacity. Going back to school, taking a new course, getting a class, a certification in something new. So this is a constant reminder that as you are investing and I'll be honest myself, I take a little time. I don't take time to get dressed, but I take time to put it together, all right? I lay it out, but it takes me a minute to go through the closet and figure out how I'm gonna put it together. I have to be just as intentional with my mind as I am with what I present to you physically. It's no need of me spraying on Creed cologne, $500 a bottle. There's no need for me spending all this time online shopping, putting a suit together, and crazy as a Bessie bug. Out here just willy-nilly with my whole purpose in life. So I have to be just as intentional with my investment in my mind as I am invested in how I present physically. We got a lot of dressed up fools out here. We have to get to the point where we're dressing up our mind and we look good, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. So if I was up here, thank you. If I was up here in a tank top and some shorts, you can still see he's got his mind dressed. Now he may need to work on his outfit, but he know where he's going. All right. So that's who I am. LloydBensonJr.org. Pick up the book on Amazon. I inspired to be a 10-time author like my sister before me and an Amazon best-selling author. This is my first one, y'all. But it's one of many to come, because Nadia not gonna let me sleep. And the sweatshirts are available as well. So please patronize and go on this journey with me through mental health and the journey to become a purposeful you. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's not, and we're going to do it. Today, this day. This day. Jeremiah 1 and 11. This day. Right now. Right now. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What motivated you to passion, rifle, what inspiration did you get, and once you did do it, kind of feel?
Yes, sir. What's your name, sir? Marcus. Thank you, Brother Marcus. That's a great question. My inspiration, I have three children. I have Chloe, Layla, and Trey. And with me, everything has to start at home. And so I needed to leave breadcrumbs, if you will, for a trail so they can see what their dad was working on, the direction in which I was going, because I'm not old per se, but the older I get, I realize that I won't be here forever. And this is one of the few ways that I can leave breadcrumbs behind. If I leave here tomorrow, one of my children can pick up this book and say, this is who dad was. This is what kept dad going. And that's my greatest inspiration. Outside of that, I work in healthcare. I've been working in healthcare for 15 years. I see brothers like you, myself, all the time that have completely lost their way. Trauma victims that have been a part of shooting violence in our city. Young brothers. I have a community center in Melrose East. And so I've always had a desire and a purpose to see people live their best life and be fulfilled in what they do. Not just chasing a bag, but chasing purpose. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Marcus. Any other questions, concerns? Not concerns, compliments. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, as I said to you yesterday, personally, I feel publicly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being the face of the African American male.
Yes, ma'am.
Men are south. I have a burden, and I pray, and I always ask God, what is the answer? We as women will come together, we will cry, we will fix each other cry, we won't find. But I'm like, what is it? I see so many men that are just stuck. They don't trust. They don't have a good friend. I don't know, maybe it's not in the makeup. For them to just be able to be vulnerable.
Yes, ma'am.
So I always say it takes one. So I'm so thankful for you guys because I feel like me coming here, I see something that I had not seen, but I feel like it's a prayer answer. So take the movement and run with it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And thank you for recognizing us. And I'll be remiss if I didn't recognize even the owner of this establishment, Brother Caleb back there. Another, Kobe, I'm sorry, Kobe. But just another strong black man, because I know it's not easy to be a business owner in downtown Baton Rouge. And so salute to you, King, for doing what you're doing as well. Any other questions? Thank y'all for your time.
All righty, how y'all doing? Y'all still inspired, feeling good? All righty, well, my name is Celeste Payne. I don't know how many times author I am, I didn't count, but I've been publishing books and working on books since 2001. In 2001, lady named Obi Ray Rogers called me and she said, can you help me design the cover of my book? So I designed the cover of her book, helped her do the layout. If you know anything about graphic design, it was back in the day of something called PageMaker. That's way old school. And so I did her book. I saw her go through the process and put stuff up on Amazon. I was like, oh, snap, I can do that. And so I began working on an idea. In 2010, I did my first book, which was a journal. And that was a low content book, which means basically it was a lot of just blank pages, but it was cute. And it was way before low content books like now, that's the big thing. And so I've been writing, and it's been a therapy for me. And then I also write for purpose, like to meet a particular need. So I did bring a couple of my books, and then I'll talk about one of them separately. One of my first books, I taught second grade. Kids kept asking me, how do you spell this? And I'm like, if you ask me how to spell something one more time, we're going to have a problem. So what I did was I made a personal word wall for my students, because with 30 kids in my classroom, it was getting to be crazy. And if anybody's a teacher, you know the curriculum moves very, very fast. They have you rotating your word wall. You get in trouble if you don't, not on this. So the kids would write their words in the book and had it personally. So even when they left second grade, they had all the words they learned and could take them on home, third grade, and to the future. My other one that I'm kind of very proud of is Black and Beautiful. It's a coloring book. And I did this, I think, last February or the February before, just as something to just be therapeutic for myself and for other women. And I do paint parties. So this book accompanied the paint party. So we painted the picture, and then they got to take home coloring book, which was great. My favorite book probably is this one, because while I was going through some emotional stress, I was trying to figure out, how do I love me? How do I love myself? Because I have to be everything to everybody else. I have to do everything they need me to do. My son needs to go here, there, the other. At the time, I was married, and I was in a situation where my talents are, I pretty much can do a lot. And I started feeling like, you don't love me for me, you love me for what I can do for you. And being a talented person, sometimes you get in those situations where people want to use your gift, but they overlook you as a person. So this helped me figure out who I am, how to love myself, and what boundaries to put in place. The book I brought this time is a book called Faith Vibes. Typically, when I'm in atmospheres like this, I'm talking about Canva, teaching people how to use Canva, talking about AI and telling people AI is not the devil. AI can be your friend if you know how to use it properly, and I'll show you how to use it, especially our 40, 50-year-old people who are afraid of everything technological. I can make it easy for you. So typically that's where I stand. But another part of my life is ministry, and marrying ministry and the marketplace is one of my areas. And what I've noticed is that many people in the marketplace they really do hear from God, but they don't have the guidance to know what they're hearing, and don't have the foundation, and are many times misunderstood or just thrown away because they're not a traditional church member. And so I did this book called Faith Vibes to kind of hit that generation of people who want to strengthen their faith. They've been raised up maybe in church and have strayed away, but they want to get back to it. And so it's 21 days of deepening your prayer life. That everybody pray. Y'all don't, people be like, oh, I don't pray, or so-and-so don't pray. Everybody pray. In the schoolhouse, when y'all say they took prayer out of school, they never took prayer out of school. Because every time them kids have a test, every time they got to turn in a project, let me tell you, they praying. And they're praying like, God, help me get the answer. I even had classes where students have said, before we take this test, can we pray? And guess what? You can't stop a child from praying in school. Sure, go right ahead. I just can't lead you. So prayer is still in school. But that younger generation needs guidance, and they're looking for it, but not from a judgmental standpoint where you're telling them everything they're doing wrong. Yeah, they might smoke weed, but maybe if we get them praying, God might speak to them and they might put it down. Maybe they might be out doing this, that, and the other, but they just need guidance. And so this is 21 days to deepen your prayer life. I have people on a 21-day prayer challenge for 10 days. 10 minutes a day. And I was shocked at the range of people who participated, because I've had people who have been in church who feel like they've lost their way and need that extra push, to the point where I have people who are nowhere near the church, but still have a desire and a yearning to hear from God. And so that's my purpose. That's what I'm here to share with you today, is that no matter what it is that you have in your heart to do it. As you can see, my books are a wide variety. I got children's books, books about, from me personally, books that I feel I'm led to do. Whatever it is that you feel like God is calling you to write it. And don't let people trap you in a box. Go wherever he wants you to go, because wherever he plants you, that's where you'll flourish. Oh, and by the way, if you want to reach me, you can visit my website. It's celesteempowers.com, and that is 2 E's at the end of Celeste and empowers.com. And then also my nonprofit organization is Arts Empowered, where I do offer classes on art classes for therapy and self-care, as well as AI and Canva to help you make that money and go to the bank he was talking about. And while you're in line, would you say making your deposit, right? I'm gonna help you get something to deposit with that you can sell to deposit. All right. So that's it. Any questions for me? Yes.
So, as an author, you know, I'm astounded at what all you have accomplished thus far. As an author, how do you gain balance? You know, give us some ideas as authors. How do you gain balance from, you know, being an author, also being a teacher, and you know, where are you in between all of that?
So to be honest with you, I don't believe in balance because there's so much that God has for you. There's no way I can possibly balance. But what I do believe is managing my priorities. And so whatever's the priority at the moment, like actually taking time to manage the priorities that I have at the moment. So like today, my church, well, thank God, they decided not to go virtual, not to go live today. They replayed something. So one of my priorities was to make sure I would be on the live, but I knew I had to be here. I knew I had to get ready. So there's certain things I couldn't do today. And it's okay if you can't do everything in a day. Do it tomorrow, do it next week, plan it in.
Something is self-care.
Oh, self-care. Oh, I'm gonna take care of me. I'm gonna take care of me. So one of the things that I do self-care wise is I do try to, of course, do the deep and spiritual things, the prayer and all of that. But as far as like just relaxing, I listen to Audible. I don't know if that counts as reading to, but I listen to Audible books. I also take time. Sometimes I watch something really silly on TV just to relax my mind. And then one of the things I do is learn, even as I'm getting older, is stop taking yourself so serious and being all stressed out about stuff. Because at the end of the day, if I stress myself out, stroke out, tomorrow somebody's gonna be in my place, my job. I'm not married anymore, but I've noticed that, in those situations, wife died, husband died, a year or two later, they got a new one. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta take care of yourself and prioritize yourself, and don't take yourself too seriously. Be on purpose, but don't stress yourself out. And whatever God has for you, He has for you, and you'll get it done when you get it done. That's it. Any other questions? Thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you, Nadia.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Richard. I've written two books. I'm a little nervous here. Excuse me. First of all, I'd like to thank Shahida for keeping me informed of events like this. And I'd like to thank you, Nadia. I'm so glad I met you. Again, my name is Patricia Richard. I'm from right here in Baton Rouge. I'm here to talk about myself briefly and my two books that I wrote. Let's say I was raised here in Baton Rouge in a neighborhood called McGrath Heights. My father lived in a neighborhood called the Park. Now in the Park, they had more action going on in the park, and that's where I wanted to be. I didn't want to stay at my mom's house. Too many rules. So, not abiding by them rules got me inspired to get to where I got to through this. I could go to my dad's house and just be myself. At my mom's house, I felt like I wasn't being myself. In less than 2 weeks, I will be 65. And so I think a 65, that's a senior citizen. And I looked up the meaning of a senior citizen, and I'm not satisfied with it. I'm not. Okay, so it says that the qualified age to receive Social Security benefits, and that's not enough for me. So I'm not going to be a senior citizen. I'm a seasoned citizen because I got a life and I want to live it. I want to write. I want to tell you some things about it. In this book, it's about my experiences in the prison. I was arrested a little over 20 times. There were reasons that caused me to do the things I did. They're in the book. And then there's a wonderful miracle that got me out of it. And it's standing before you right now. Okay, on my second book, What Happened to Aunt Vera? Aunt Vera was my great aunt. I never got the chance to meet. I don't know if y'all familiar with the way we do it down here in the South, but a family secret is like taboo. You don't tell it, you don't share it. I didn't know about Aunt Vera until I was an adult, but in 1936, she was 19 years old. The authorities came and took her away because of strange behavior. Now you look at being in 1936, anything we did back then was strange to the, to the opposite race. So they took her and she stayed in there for some years. I accumulated what I could from the archives. I got all her medical records. I got her death certificate. On her death certificate, there's no cause of death. And that just got me, I wanted to dig deeper. And I delved enough to get the outline for this book. It's still, it doesn't have a full conclusion, but it got what where I went to, how far I went to find out. And I can be reached, Patricia Richard 225 @gmail.com. Any questions? Okay. Well, thank you for letting me share.
Hello, I am Christy Gothrow, Christy Fisher Gothrow, because if you find me on like Facebook, I've dropped the Gothrow. I'm a widow, mom of 4, author, publisher, and speaker. For a long time, I really didn't know how to introduce myself because I was a teacher for so long. So I would just tell people, I'm an educator. And so I still do educate. That is my professional job. I'm a community educator. But I've always been a writer. I've been writing since probably elementary school. But it turned, the wrong way in middle school. I became a graffiti artist. Got put out of 8th grade for it. And so I stopped for a while. And then eventually some life changes happened and that brought the writer back out of me. And I use writing as a therapy. And for me, and I heard someone say it earlier that, you write your stories. They're not just for you. When you tell your stories, it's for somebody else. And over the years, I've just kind of taken on this slogan that I write for my life, but I also write for the life of others. And so I tell my clients that often, yeah, you write for your life, but you especially write for the life of others because it is a therapy. You do it, at the times that you need it. They might say journal. For me, I've always written stories and I would rewrite the narrative depending on where I was in life. And I would rewrite the narrative, how I wanted it to end, what I wanted the characters to be like. And then it ventured from there to what lessons did I learn from it? And then I would write those lessons out. And so when I'm talking to other people, I'm like, do the same thing. You can tell your story. It could be a memoir, it could be an autobiography, but there's also a way to tell your story without having to dig into the details and share all your business. And today I've authored many books and I've helped lots of other people author books. And I didn't bring books with me today because like I was saying earlier, I just want to be a resource. I've just gotten to a point where it's not, my stories really aren't like a for sale, they're for sale. And I do advise selling. I do advise it, but I've just become like this resource. I just want to suck things in where I can pour it out. gain all the knowledge I can, then I can give it to somebody else. And that's kind of what I've become. But in my story, and why I say you write for your life, because the first book that I wrote back in 2007, when I first started writing it, and I heard somebody have a similar experience when she was up here talking about that praying, Tandra, and how the Holy Spirit just came over you and led you into a place, right? And so when I got out of the military, I came back home in 2006, and I was in ministry school. And so the only thing I would do was go to work in the daytime, ministry school Tuesday, Thursdays, church on Sunday, prayer on Monday, Bible study Wednesday. And I had my oldest son at the time. I was divorced. And so that was my life. And then one day I come from ministry school. I'm thinking normal night. I'm going to get in my Bible, read a little bit, do some of my study work, make sure my son is good. I'm going to go to bed. And I could not go to sleep. I was up all night. I must have prayed for everybody under the sun. I swear I was praying for celebrities, people out, music artists I don't listen to, like just random. It was just random people. People I knew, people I didn't know. Like names, I was hearing names, and I'm praying and praying and I'm praying. And at one point, I was like, Lord, can I just go to sleep? I don't want to pray for nobody else. And I just continued to pray. And then after a while, I began to pray in the spirit. And it just was going and going and going. And middle of the morning, maybe 4 or 5 morning time or something, I just came to like a stop. And the next day, I'm in the bathroom, and I heard God say, write a book. And I never really get into the details of what happened right before he told me to write the book. I just zoom past it when I'm telling people, yeah, he told me to write a book. But how important that part is that I keep leaving out, that he gave me a compassion for people that I hadn't had before then. Like I thought that I was loving people. But really, when I look back at it, I had been called mean for a long time. I was very like standoffish and very cutty, like, oh, I don't really like that, so I don't talk to you anymore. And so I felt like that was something he broke in me at that time. And when he told me to write the book, I'm like, well, what are we going to write about? And he took me back to what I delivered you from. And for 2 years while I was in the military, I was in a lesbian relationship. And it was some little things that started when I was like in elementary school and middle school. And it was kind of like and I got married and I said out my mouth, watch your words. I'm going to tell you now, you can have what you say, even if you don't really want it. Because I said, right before I left my husband, I was talking to his sister-in-law, and I said, you know what? If we divorce, I'm going to just get me a girlfriend. I knew I meant it, but I don't know that I meant it. But the opportunity presented itself as soon as I said we're over. I found out that my roommate that they just put me in the barracks with, because I'm in the Navy, is a gay girl. Like, she a lesbian. I didn't know. I hadn't seen her for 2 weeks. She was on leave. She come back. She takes me to a club, and I'm like, what in the... I set this whole thing up, right? I put it in motion because I spoke it out of my mouth. And for 2 years, not in a relationship with her, but with somebody else. And in that 2 years, I just took on this identity. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. I didn't care what anybody said. My mom was an evangelist at the time, so y'all know how that went down, honey. They were praying, and they were doing all the things. And she would call me, and she'd be like, well, Kay, and she started talking about something, and honey, I put that phone down, I wait a little bit. She's still talking. She's still talking. And eventually, I just stopped answering my phone because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And then I went on a 6-month deployment. When I tell you I tried everything not to go on that deployment, I tried everything, literally, tried to get pregnant at all. Because if you get pregnant, you can't go out to sea. That did not work. I got out there 3 months in with R. Kelly playing in my ears while I'm braiding hair. The Lord was like, today is the day for you to stop. I stopped. I thought I was tripping. Talked to the girl who was braiding hair. She was like, I ain't said nothing to you. Put my headphones back on and R. Kelly again. And I'm praying. I'm braiding. I'm not thinking nothing. And I heard it again. I took the headphones off. I asked her, can I braid your hair tomorrow? And I just felt like I needed to get in the shower. The minute the water hit me, I began to weep. And it was just like, just pouring off of me. And I began to just ask him to forgive me. But in all of that now this is 2 years prior to me moving back home. This book wasn't even thought of. This is the deliverance coming from me. And then even in that time, I was asking him to forgive me, but I still wasn't thinking about people. I wasn't thinking about the husband I left. I wasn't thinking about all the friends I cut off. I wasn't thinking about the times where I was disrespectful and dishonorable. I wasn't thinking about any of that. It was just like, Lord, forgive me for these things, but I didn't think about the people. 2 years later, when it comes to write this book, I'm thinking about people. and I now have a heart for people. And he began to show me how much he loved me in the middle of the Atlantic when I had nobody on my mind, wasn't even trying to go. And he's like, no, I put you out there where you couldn't have access to the world you thought you were living in. You couldn't have access to the people who were attached to that identity, so I could talk to you, so I could deliver you. And in this book, and I tell people so you can write your story without telling your business. In this book, it is not my personal story, not because I don't mind telling my business. So if somebody asks me, like I just gave y'all, that little bit of information, somebody asked me, I'm testimonied up. We could talk about it all day, whatever details you need, how it was hell on earth, trying to get out. She stole my identity. I had 7 felony warrants across the state of Florida because she had stolen my identity. She had gotten a driver's license with her picture and my information. She had gotten a job. She set my apartment on fire. I'm talking about had some real stuff. I had a police officer on speed dial. Okay, it was real life. So I'll tell all the details. But in this book, God gives the way out. And it ain't none of me. Because I promise y'all, I will open my Bible and read a scripture and be like, I did not know that was in there. What is the, I'm talking about like, what? Y'all, this book did not come from me. I promise you it did not come from me. Because even when I go back and read it, I be so amazed. Like, this is all God and none of me. There were scriptures that I had never seen in my life that I would just open my Bible and it would just be, I would turn my TV on and it'd be a story on. And I was, how did they even know that was the chapter I was in? Like, it was just amazing me the entire time. So I tell y'all, if there's another book in your belly, you know that he put it there. There is somebody that needs it. Now, mind you, I wrote the first version of this in 07. When did Barack get elected? What year was that? 08? So I started writing in 07. I finished in 08. But let me tell y'all, while I was writing, I didn't know they was going to be talking about don't ask, don't tell. I was in the military. Before don't ask, don't tell, you in the military, if you got a girlfriend or boyfriend, that is your business. Do not tell, and I won't ask, because if I find out, you might get in trouble. Right? The election came and they started having a conversation. I didn't even know they were gonna have a conversation because I wasn't into politics and I had already started writing on it. And so when I'm writing about it, one day I turned TV on and was like, are they talking about changing the rules? It was already, the chapter was already being born. And it just went from there. And I remember having a conversation with my husband. Eventually I got married after the book. And I told him, I said, now y'all, this is 2010 maybe. And I said, because the book had been out for a little bit, we were having a discussion about how far the whole LGBTQ was going to go. And my husband said, oh no, God ain't going to let that happen. It's going to say, I know what they think they're doing, but it's not going to go that far. And I said, you must ain't read my book. And he was like, what that's supposed to mean? I was like, they got some stuff in that book that I know I didn't write. I was like, but let me tell you, it's going to be on the TV, on the radio, Disney, on your movie screen. I was like, they're going to be changing bathrooms, baby, they're going to have prompts. And I remember like all these different things I was saying. This was way back then. We in 2025 with unisex bathrooms. We in 2025, it's in the curriculum. We in 2025, it's on your TV screen, baby. It is at Disney, wherever you want it to be, it is there. And wherever you don't want it to be, it is there. And I tell people this too, because a lot of times people be like, well, God allows and disallows. But like I said yesterday, the devil ain't sneaking up on God. He ain't sneaking doing stuff and God don't know about it. He knew then, he knows now, he knows what's to come. It is where are you in the situation and what are your beliefs and what are you doing? And if he put something in you to do, you can't be so involved with what the world is doing to not do your part. And so when I wrote this, it was out of obedience. When I talk about it now, it's out of obedience. It's not ever out of hate, which is why it's called God Can Deliver You, the Gay Society, but the majority of the book talks about love, because sometimes we don't know how to love people into their deliverance. If you ain't got a word in your mouth directly from him, it ain't for them. It's for you. If it didn't come from him, it's not for them. It's for you. Because if he gave you something for them, they're going to receive it. It's not going to be any pushback. They're not going to be trying to tear you down, because when it receives on their end, they're already open for it. They're ready. right? But when it's coming from you, yes, you will get the pushback. They will not want to hear it. Because guess what? My mama didn't lay hands on me. She tried. That did not cause deliverance. Because guess who spoke to me in the middle of the Atlantic? Wasn't my mama, wasn't my pastor, wasn't my sister, no cousins, no friends, honey. It was the Most High God Himself. Okay? He will get your attention. So whatever it is He has given you, it may not be on a controversial level. It may be, like I said yesterday, expertise. It may be talking to kids. It may be teaching someone to read or helping the women in prison. Whatever it is He's giving you, though, obedience is better than sacrifice. You better be more obedient to God than you are loyal to your friends and your family. Because sometimes we could be so loyal to people, oh Lord, and we will keep our mouths closed and we will not move. But you got to be more obedient to God than you are loyal to your friends, or loyal to your job, or loyal to those rules that they gave you, or loyal to even your pastor. Because sometimes, like she said, her daddy told her, it ain't time for you to speak. Sometimes you can get some directions, and that becomes your idol, the person that you are listening to, and you know you heard God, but you made this person your idol. You know you heard God, but you made this person your idol. Then you don't put the book out. Then you don't start the business. Then you don't open your mouth. Then God can't birth through you. Guess what? He'll find somebody, baby. The rocks will cry out. He will find somebody to do what you wouldn't do. And then, like Tundra said, you're going to be looking back like, nah, I wish I would have. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I am just here as a resource. And look, the priorities thing, that was all me, because my son got a flag football game, y'all. And I even picked his clothes up, and the game started at 5. I didn't forget, but I forgot, but I remember, okay? So I'm gonna have to leave after this, but I just want to leave y'all with, if ever there's any questions, if there's something that I can give, I will. If there's something that I know, I'll share. If I don't know, I will find the resources. I will find the people that maybe you can't find. I've just created a life of connecting to people in many places so that I can provide networks, opportunities, and just all the connections that I might meet somebody and they may need a connection to. And so I am available. I'll leave like a few cards. Like I said, I'm gonna have to run out of here, but you can find me at ChristyGothrow.com, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the places is Christy Fisher Gothrow. You might not see the Gothrow in some places. It may just say Christy Fisher. And that is all. That's all I have. Thank y'all so much. Nadia, thank you so much for this opportunity. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Enola Pillard. This weekend has been phenomenal. I'm so honored and grateful to be here. Look, I had my phone. I was writing those notes. It was no way anyone could not leave here without gaining something from an author. There's an amazing, powerful authors here, and I'm honored to be able to be here and share this weekend with you. So I'm going to be obedient and take the time that's allowed here. Today, I'll want to share about this. This is something I recently came out with, and it's an author strategy journal. And through my time of becoming an author, almost everywhere I go, there's someone telling me, I have poems, I have a story, I have a book. What do I do? How do I get started? I may not know everything about being an author, but I knew that it was time to share. So I have this book that's an author strategy journal, and I also became an author strategy coach just to share what I've learned thus far. So in this journal, it gives you a little bit, just enough to get started, and I have some notes where once they get started, they have the journal to get started in and keep everything in one place. How many of you know it's very important to know where your things are? You may wake up at 2:00 in the morning, and I mean, the ideas just coming in like a flood, or sitting at the library with the kids, coming in like a flood. So that's why this book was created. And this weekend, I've heard Esther about 3 times. And so it was confirmation for me. I'm so excited. On last year, at the end of the year, I also joined an anthology project called Esther Royal Decoy. I am one of the authors that's on this book. I'm one of the authors, and I spoke on the leader of Esther. And I mentioned how Esther had to walk, she had to see faith before she walked faith, and how God took the love of two. Someone mentioned how Esther didn't have a mother nor a father, but she wasn't denied of love. How God took the love of two people and put it in the heart of one, and that was Mordecai. So I knew that would give so many much hope. Sometime in life, you do feel lonely, you feel alone because you know there's something different about you. And Esther definitely had a call in her life to help a whole nation. So Esther she had to actually see faith through the life of Mordecai in order to walk faith and become a queen. So I knew I had to mention this because her name was mentioned so many times. So I'm excited about this project. I also want to mention about this prayer book, and it's a prayer book for entrepreneurs. I know everyone in here have an idea or actually an entrepreneur, and we need prayers too. In our community, in church, even in our family, everybody like look at us to be so strong. Oh, they have it together. Oh, she'll be all right. But how many know we need prayers also? So there was a night I stayed up all night to finish this book because I kept hearing the needs of entrepreneurs that, look, I have this great in me, but look, this is going on. That's going on. So I made it also a simple read, as you mentioned, something simple, something easy. If you're going to college, it's something you put in your backpack. And at any moment when you need prayer on faith, you can pray for yourself. How many know sometimes you have to lay hands on yourself? You have to speak over yourself. And so that's why this book was created. I am originally from Simsbury, Louisiana. I went to beauty school in Lafayette, so I've been there for many years. I have a catalog of many books. I have a few projects that's coming up, and I'm excited to be an author, to be a vessel from God to help lives, change lives through becoming an author. And it was an honor and privilege to see you this weekend, to spend time with you on this weekend. And again, thank you to Nadia for just creating such an atmosphere where we can express, our ideas, how we got started, how we're going to move forward. And as I mentioned, it is no way possible you will not leave here without something to take with you and encourage you as an author. Thank you.
I gave God my yes for my amen. I'm gonna say it again. I gave God my yes for my amen. And the reason why I say that is because it's truly a testament of how this book was birthed. It's birthed from a place of pain, but it's also of conquering and thriving through. I know we're in 2025 and we're gonna thrive, but I've been thriving before that. And so I want to thank God for my yes today. I remember my journey actually started way beforehand as a teenage mother, which I spoke on yesterday, at being a mother at the age of 17 years old. And I remember holding my baby and asking God, why me? And he clearly answered and said, why not you? I remember being a domestic violence survivor as a teenage mother, and during that journey of my life, I never looked back and said, she was 2, and I said, I never wanted to return to a place where I didn't feel like I was enough. And as I carried on my journey as being a mother just to one child, God took me on the pathway of learning what motherhood was all about. And I'm gonna call it Ricky journey of my little girl moments. And so The reason why I say I gave God my yes for my amen today is because on Christmas Eve of 2021, I remember having a conversation with my ex-husband, and it was, if I treat you so bad, why the you still here? What he didn't know was that I had already had a plan, and we was at 8 months of being married, to break free from what I knew was a mental battle for my life, because it was just not a battle for my children, but it was a battle for me as well. And that morning, my mom and I had spoken. I was planning on getting her house fixed and moving in her house. And when I say I gave God my yes for my amen, I was living in what I call the palace, but my mama lived off Shelley Street. And so that was the hood, right? And so I was willing to go back to my mom's house. And I said, you know what? I'd rather live in the shoe than be in this place of disappointment. And I had a plan to move back in with my mom. And that same morning, Christmas morning, when I was told, if I treat you so bad, why are you still here? My daughter overheard that. It wasn't a transformation to me until my daughter came to me and said, Mama, we don't want to go to my daddy's house this weekend. And I said, why not? I heard what such and such said to you, and we're afraid for you. I said, I'm going to be all right. Y'all go and enjoy your Christmas. Mama will be all right. I don't want to cry, because I want to tell you, I was downtown the day after Christmas, and I sat downtown for 5 hours at Capital City Grill, and I got a journal. That's why it was so important when I saw you talk about the journal and about documenting your journey. And I wrote a love letter to God, and I started writing to God about what do I bring to the table. And during my interview, I said, I am the table. I'm not the meal. No longer would I be the meal for someone to be able to abuse me mentally, physically, and emotionally, as well as my children. When I say I gave God my yes for my amen, it's because I was willing to go stay with my mom and start over from scratch. But God said, I have something better for you. During that time, I wrote my love letter to God. My first poem that I wrote was, what does brokenness look like? And I started off by saying, it looked like a shoe that just stepped in a pile of, because every time that person wanted to, they did it right on me. And so God told me that it is now your time. When God will see you through things, he will send the right people at the right time. One day I will share, and I'm thinking about how I'm gonna put it together, but I want to share with you how when my kids walked into our new home, that they had no idea, Mama, how did you do it? Because Christmas Eve, I was like, where am I gonna go? Because that morning, my mom called me at 10 o'clock. I was just told this at 8. And at 10 o'clock, my mom called me and she said, you know, I've been thinking, you married that crazy. My butterfly just fell, but it's okay. And, you know, you want to move into my house, then fix it up how you want it to be for the benefits of you and your children. If you really had the heart of doing so, you would have been done that beforehand. I don't think it's going to be a good idea for you and your children to move into the house with me. So you made your bed and you must lay in it. And I said, Mama, you telling me I can't move in with you? She said, I'm telling you can't move in with me. And she left me with the choice of staying or going. But when I tell you God answers prayers, because on December 27th, I got a phone call. And I was laying in my bed and I did not want to answer the phone because I was feeling depressed and not knowing what I'm going to do. Because in 3 days, can we say in 3 days? God answered my prayers. Because I gave him my yes to my mom's house. I got a phone call from someone that asked me about how to put this particular program together. And I answered her and I said, well, can I ask you a question? I said, I know you're doing real estate stuff. Do you have anybody that have a rent house or somewhere that's open like right now? And she said, as a matter of fact, I do. I have somebody that I know. Let me call and find out. But you just moved. I said, don't ask no questions. I just need you to tell me if you know somebody that has a rent house, because I have to get out as soon as possible. Because I know it was a battle between my head and my heart. I saw myself on the episode of Snap because of the things that I was going through mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so when I say God answered prayers, I did the man, I talked to him at 10 o'clock. I did my application at 11 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, he said, when you want to pick up your keys and why you're not buying a house. I said, glory be to God. And my kids were with their dad And it wasn't until that Wednesday I called him and I explained to him what was going on, kind of briefly, because of course I had issues with him as well. But I had to say it was between me and my children. My kids were no longer there because they saw what I was going through. And I said, I want you to meet me at the police station. And I had picked up my keys. So I was getting my keys that day. And they had no idea. And the video actually shows my children. I told them, I said, we're going to meet a client to get their favors out their house. And I would normally do that often with them when I'm doing a particular project. And we walked in the house and I'm filming my oldest daughter on, she lived in Texas at the time. And I'm filming her on FaceTime, just kind of like having a conversation with her. I'm like, hey, y'all, let's go in the house. It was like, wow, this house looks so empty. Like, what are we doing, Mom? And I'm like, well, y'all just come on in. I said, y'all go in that room right there. It's where the boxes are in that room. And it was an empty room. And they walking in the house like, what, Mama, what are we doing? Like, and as soon as they got to the bigger room, I said, the boxes should be in that corner. Walk around the corner, and they got in the room. It's like, what boxes? I said, welcome to our new home. That right there was my answer because God had already saw me through it. Even though I had gave my mom and told her that I wanted to move in with her, I wanted to be able to have a place where I knew where my children would feel safe. You spoke about you being estranged from your mom. I want to be able to look broadcast and tell my mom that I miss you. I haven't spoken to my mom since May last year. Because she told me she didn't want to have anything else to do with me. And that's hard. I don't want to cry because I'm supposed to be an author, right? Okay. Thank you. Because after all of this, I realized I had a narcissistic mother all my life. And so the battle that I was going through is because I received narcissistic things in my life and received things that people felt like I had to fit inside their box. I was told by my mom that I wasn't going to be anybody, that by the time she finished with me, I would be gay and left to the gay community, like my daughter. And that she was going to do everything possible to have me no longer a part of her life. But I stand before you today to tell you that I am stronger than my past. My mother may have had some heartbreak in her life that caused her to have the hurt to be able to try to hurt me. But at the end of the day, I have learned to be a better mother to my own children, despite the circumstances. And I dedicate this book to my children because it was truly a battle between my head and my heart, because I had to learn to be able to say, I am enough. My children would not see me disregard them. They would not see me choose someone else over them ever again in life. And I would stand up and work out my little girl moments and be a woman to be able to own up and be accountable for my own actions. So the battle between my head and my heart, which was written in this book, was a Shattered Hearts and Wounded Souls, was never a journey for me, but it was birthed out from a place of pain, of me writing a love letter to God for 5 hours straight at Capital City Grill, where I realized that my value stands stronger than the test of time. My daddy told me on his bed on May 7, 2019, my daddy had just got into a hospital bed for 2 days. He was in there for about a day or two. And I remember I fed him a sandwich cut up in fours. And I'm a PK kid as well. And so after I fed him the sandwich about 8 o'clock that morning, I was on my computer doing some graphics on the side of the bed. And he woke up 2 hours later. And he said, he was moving around. And I said, Daddy, you hungry? And he didn't say much. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, pray with your father. And I was like, I don't really feel like it, Lord. Like he really sleep. He probably not listening, right? And I heard him again say, pray with your father. And I began to be obedient to God. And I began to pray with my dad.
And it felt like an hour and 20 minutes of prayer, but it was probably just about 5 or 10. But the room was filled with light. It was shining so bright. And after I finished praying with my father, he said, I needed that soul food yesterday. And I said, you hungry, Daddy? He said, I needed that soul food yesterday. And I said, the prayer. He said, yes. And he said it again. I needed that soul food yesterday in order to cross over to the other side. I literally grabbed my chest and I said, Daddy, are you telling me you're ready to cross over? He says, no one's never ready to cross over, but when that time comes, I'm ready to meet my Savior. But that prayer you just prayed earned you a cookie from the other side. It brought me back to your breadcrumbs because I see God's breadcrumbs everywhere I go. I love a chocolate chip cookie, but my daddy was such a funny person that I know that he passed me the baton to stand firmly on my beliefs and that everybody will not be able to walk with you on your journey of where you're going. I can stand here today and say that I am loved. I am happily remarried to my husband, my Boaz. You can follow me on Facebook at Ricky Davis Robinson. Our hashtag is marrying the right Robinson because apparently I had the wrong one the first time. And God has truly showed me that he is the evidence of faith belief. If you continue to show him that you are going to be faithful to his word and to his guidance. And so in this book, I wrote the battle between my head and my heart, in which I talk about the red flags that I did not pay attention to in the first place, as well as being able to no longer be muzzled, no longer keep my mouth silent. I was one of those women that had a muzzle on my mouth. I was one of those women that could not speak for myself because I felt like every time I said something, it would get shut down. But I can stand here today and tell you, as firm as belief, I can talk, and I can talk some more. And if you want to hear me talk again, just know that more books will be coming, and it will not be a place of hurt. It will be a place of healing, triumph, and conquering more. And it will be for my children and my children's children because when it's written, it's going to go. And I have a joke to tell you, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen. We have the Old Testament and the New Testament. Hear me out. I believe when the world come back again, God's going to have the new generation. It's going to have the book of Ricky. Check it out.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? Good. I'm doing fantastic because, first of all, God woke me up this morning. And he let me see 69 years old. So that's a lot to be thankful for, right? So I'm here to tell you guys about this is really my first book, but it's very, very sacred to me. I lost my daughter at 28 years old with sickle cell anemia, which I do have as well. I had to raise her 2 kids. This was a journey as well. Someone else spoke about death, losing a child. Well, I can definitely tell you it's a journey. It's a process. It's not easy, but we just do day by day, day by day. I have people ask me, how did you do it? By the grace of God. But I have my moments, but I don't let it get me down. Because it's easy to get you down now, but you got to find positive things to keep you going. And so I have a lot of books out as well. So I'm not counting either, but I do. But this is sacred, very sacred to me, how I dealt with the process of her dealing with the sickle cell disease when no one believed how sick she was in the hospitals, in ICUs. They thought we were crazy. We just wanted medication. They thought we just were drug addicts. But no. But until you experience what we experienced with the disease, then somebody else can understand and it can tell you. So therefore, I'm in a lot of books, thanks God to Nadia as well. So just about everybody in here is in the books that Nadia have. So I don't need to give y'all all of that because I'm in it. Just look at the cover, I'm on it. But my newest thing that I'm talking about is I have my affirmation book out. And that's very sacred because as with you, young lady, I'm a product of domestic violence, but verbal abuse. That wasn't easy either because verbal is mental. That sticks in your head and it makes you feel like nobody else gonna ever want you because people tell you that nobody gonna want you. You're not gonna be good for nothing. This, that, and the other. But I'm here to tell you, don't listen to that. Because there is a God up above that never sleeps nor slumbers. You understand? So me, I'm a firm believer of God. I'm always obedient. So God gave me this vision about the affirmation. I didn't even know which way I wanted to go with it. But one night I woke up and I called Nadia and I told Nadia, I got this thing, this vision about doing this affirmation. I don't know what I want to do. Matter of fact, we was on a cruise. We was on the cruise. And I started getting all that together. I had to get half of the book on the cruise. We're supposed to be vacationing, but I did it because God said you got to be obedient to his word. And when you obedient to his word, everything works out for the best. And I started. So in that affirmation book, it will tell you about health issues, where I give you scriptures to find healing for your health issues, marriages, I've been there, divorces, I've been there, domestic violence, I've been there. So everything I talk about in that affirmation book, it relates to that. And I give you all the scriptures where to find it for healing and everything. And then at the end of it, I also have my life now, which I prayed and I asked God if it's for me to have someone in my life, because I'm so used to everybody saying, there's never going to be nobody for you. Nobody's going to want you. And I said, God, if it's for me, just send me somebody who's going to love me for me. And we understand each other. But first of all, he has to be a man of God, because I know who I am already. I don't need nobody to validate. I don't have to validate because I already know whose I am. You understand? So, and God did that. And I'm just telling y'all this here because anybody in here who feel like there's nobody out there for them, I just want to let them know that it is. I'm a product. I'm standing here before you because I went on something last year and I met mine. So January the 14th will make a year that we've been dating. And he's right there, back there, right? That's right. And age, let me tell you, age is just a number. Because in my wildest dreams, I never ever believed or thought that I would be dating someone under my age. But he older than me, believe it or not, because he have that wisdom. And see, God give you that. And he give you what you need at the time that you need it. And I tell y'all, I'm so blessed. I'm thankful to God because he sees me for who I am. He supports me. He don't live in New Orleans. I live in New Orleans. He live in Atlanta. But guess what? People say, how y'all gonna make that work? God making it work. We don't have to do nothing because God already got it going on. So I'm just here to tell y'all, I don't have much more to say, but anything, just y'all have any questions, I'm good. But I am evangelist because I got my evangelist license October the 5th, 2024. Evangelist Vanessa J. Ross. And you can find me on social media. I have a website, vanessajross.com. I'm on Facebook, Vanessa J. Ross, Instagram, Vanna_1956. I'm all over. And let me tell y'all this. I am a powerful praise dancer. I dance with the flags. I do liturgical dancing and I dance with the flag. So if you go on that social media, you'll see what I do. God bless you.